Hey guys, it's the Competitive Gamer. Today I'll be doing a Beyblade Tournament Analysis on the Sparking Souls Tournament hosted by FireKing in Florida last weekend. I'll also be answering some of the questions I've received regarding some of the differences between the Florida Beyblade scene and the North Carolina Beyblade scene. So let's get started. Alright, so the top four in this event were the first, second, third, and fifth seeds. And the first matchup is between the first and fifth seeds. So FireKing was the first seed and CS was the fifth seed. Now I'll call him CS as I don't know how to pronounce his handle and I don't want to use his actual name. Now the combos used by FireKing were Master, Spriggan, Will, Zone Dash plus C, Brave Lucifer 2, 2S Drift, and Rage Helios 2 with the Metal Chip Core 3A Destroy Dash. And the combos used by CS were Tempest, Lucifer, 1S Will, Xtend Plus, Master, Longinus, Around Drift, and Rage Helios 2, 2B Zone Dash plus C. So the first matchup is actually between the two Rage combos. And when it comes to Rage versus Rage, it really just comes down to a good hit. So you can see here, there was a good collision there, and CS was saved by the wall while FireKing was pocketed, so CS got the first point. Now, these two Beybladers, they play each other all the time, so when it comes to picking the combos, they do take some time as they are trying to get into each other's heads. Now, with FireKing choosing the switch here, CS chooses to actually stay with his Rage combo, and FireKing chooses to go with his Brave combo. So he's using his Brave Lucifer 2 2S Drift against that Rage Helios on zone. Now, when it comes to Drift versus Zone, from what I've seen, it's just a 50-50. And something to notice here is that CS Rage is doing a tornado stall. Now, I think he may have wanted to actually try to get that KO, so launch it up a little bit harder to KO that Brave, as he would have had a good chance of KOing it. So yeah, Brave gets the win here, so that's one for Drift essentially. And CS will ask for the switch. Now, FireKing chooses to go into his Rage combo, so his Rage Helios 2 on the 3-8 and Destroy Dash, and then seeing that, CS decides to go into his Tempest combo, so his Tempest Lucifer 1S Will Xtend Plus, and I honestly would have done the exact same thing, as it's really easy to beat Rage with Tempest. Now, something that actually wasn't evident in this video, but if you were there in person, you noticed that CS did launch his Tempest combo fairly hard. And I always say that when I go against a Rage combo with my Tempest Solomon, I like to light launch. And the reason behind that is because I know that my Tempest weighs more than Rage, and I have a pretty decent understanding of physics. So to explain my light launching in an extremely oversimplified physics way, when two Beyblades hit each other, there is a collision. And whenever there is a collision, Newton's third law of motion goes into effect, which just states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. So to simplify that, when the two Beyblades hit each other, there is a force that is applied that is equal in magnitude, or a net force, that causes the Beyblades to have an opposite reaction, or to accelerate in the opposite direction. Now that force is the net force, or the total force of the collision. So what is the force? Well, force is just an object's mass times its acceleration. So each Beyblade has its own force, and you can technically control that force. So one thing to think about is that a Beyblade's mass cannot change during a match, as by WBO rules you cannot switch out parts. Now you can switch the modes, but you cannot switch parts. And yes, there are some Beyblades like, say, Perfect Phoenix, its armor comes off, so yes, technically its mass does change, but this is a simplified explanation of this, so we'll say that mass cannot change. Now, how can you control acceleration? Well, let's just say if you pull your launcher harder, your Beyblade will have more acceleration, and if you pull it lighter, or you do a light launch, it will have less acceleration. Now, that's not necessarily correct, but for this simplified explanation, it will work. So, what is the acceleration in the opposite direction now that we know that the net force is just the combined force? Well, since we know that force is just mass times acceleration, then we know that acceleration is just the force over the object's mass. So it would be the net force over the object's mass in the case of a collision. So if you weigh more, or if you have more mass, then you accelerate slower than the object that has less mass. And that is really the explanation of why I light launch. And yes, I did say I light launch because I weigh less, but technically it's because of the mass. And to be clear, weight and mass are two completely different things, but since we live on Earth, we can kind of use those interchangeably, as weight is just mass times gravity, and since gravity is a constant 9.8 newtons per kilogram, or if we're talking in terms of velocity, 9.8 meters per second squared, the only thing that truly affects your weight on Earth is your mass. So if you have more mass, you have more weight, and if you have more weight than something else, then you have more mass than it. Now, there's a lot more physics when it comes to Beyblade. You have angular momentum, you have centripetal force, you have to take into account the drivers touching the stadium floor, causing some type of friction, but again, this is just a oversimplified explanation. Now, do Beybladers think about this when they're launching? Probably not. And like I said, both of these Beybladers are very experienced and they play each other all the time. So I'm sure that CS knows how hard he can launch his Tempest when going up against FireKing's range combo. Now, FireKing did get the win here, and CS asked for a replay, which I would have done the exact same thing. And if you notice, this time he does change his launch up just a little bit. So when he launches, he's going to tilt it slightly, so his Tempest is kind of leaned in. Now this Rage isn't anywhere near as aggressive as it was when FireKing just now launched it previously. So it's really going to come down to a battle of stamina. And when it comes to a Rage on Destroy Dash, it's not going to be a Tempest on Extend Plus. So this would be a win for CS. And FireKing will ask for the switch, and CS, he's going to pick his Rage on Zone combo, and seeing that, FireKing chooses to use his Brave Drift combo. Now, that is a really good choice, in my opinion, as Drift versus Rage, from what I've seen, it's really 50-50 on which combo wins. And with a Rage versus Brave, you want to try to KO it. And so you see he's tilting the launcher to try to get that KO. But you see that he pulled it back, so it definitely went into the pocket and hit the back wall. And speaking of this, CS did just mention that it was a miss launch, and some of you have asked why was there no relaunch, or some of you mentioned that there should have been a relaunch. However, that is not the case by WBO rules. So by WBO rules, a relaunch can occur if, say, some events beyond your control take place. So say your launcher malfunctions and it causes you to have an underpowered launch, or say you're starting to launch and somebody bumps into you. Those would be causes for a relaunch, not you launching and pulling back on the launch. So yeah, FireKing gets the point here, and CS will ask for the switch. Now, Fire King chooses to switch into his master combo. So his master on atomic, and seeing that, CS chooses to switch into his rage combo. Or rather, he chooses to keep his rage combo. Sorry, his master is on zone dash. So this is a master versus rage, and they're both left spin, and they are both on zone dash plus Z. So I was really expecting rage to win this matchup, but as you can see, they both kind of went into a tornado stall, and yeah, it just comes down to who had more stamina, and in this case, Master definitely had more stamina, so Master will get the point here, or rather Fire King gets the point here. So CS will ask for the switch, and Fire King will choose to stay with his Master combo, and CS will choose to just stay with his rage combo. And so usually when it comes down to same spin stamina, you really want to launch as hard as you can. So you'll notice that this time CS, he does launch a lot harder. Look how he's holding it back. You can tell how he's gripping. He's going to launch it a lot harder this time. So you see how he yanked on it? So you can see right there, he just has a lot more stamina. So he's going to actually get the point for this one. And Fire King will actually ask for the switch. And CS will choose to stay with his rage. So Fire King options are to use his master combo, his Brave on Drift combo, or his Rage Helios combo. So he's actually going to choose to use his Brave on Drift combo again. So this is really a 50-50, and remember, CS really wants to go for that knockout, as he does have a better chance of victory since he is technically using rage. And you see his stance, he's kind of tilted. So he's going to try to hit it off the wall so it can catapult, but if you look, it does, he pulls it back again, so it does hit the back of the pocket instead of the side wall. But what he was going for did actually work, as it did catapult and hit Brave, and actually cause Brave to get KO'd as well. But something interesting is that I don't think anybody noticed that Brave had got KO'd because it happened so fast. As my actual ruling was that he hit the back pocket, and also he KO'd himself there as well. So I personally didn't actually see Brave hit the back wall. Not that it would matter since Rage was self-KO'd to begin with. So overall, I think this was a really good matchup between two really good Beyblades. So this is the third place matchup. It's between the second seed and the fifth seed. So Alex was the second seed, and again CS was the fifth seed. Now CS is using the same combos that he previously used, so the Tempest Lucifer, 1S will Xtend plus, Master Longinus around Drift, and Rage Helios 2, 2B zone dash plus Z. And Alex, he is using, I believe, Jet Spriggan, 2B Atomic, World Lucifer, 2D Rise, and Master with Vanguard and Bang. And Alex, actually, he's the one who kicked me out of the top 8. So what happens in North Carolina is typically in the top 8, Bladers will switch their combos to combat my Tempest combo. So I anticipated Alex doing the same thing. So instead of using Tempest on Xtend Plus, I switched out the Xtend Plus to be Atomic. and that was a big mistake, as if I would have stayed on Xtend Plus, I probably would have beat Alex. However, he did do an extremely good job combating my combos, so good job there. Now, the first matchup between these two is CS's Tempest on Xtend Plus versus the World on Rise combo. So that World combo is a really good rage counter, but it's not going to beat a Tempest on Xtend Plus. So CS will actually get the point here, and looking at the combos that Alex has, there's really no way he can beat Tempest. So Alex does ask for the switch, and CS, being that he is very experienced, chooses to stay with Tempest. Now Alex, he chooses to switch into his World combo, or sorry, his Jet combo. And I should mention that I really like this combo. So Jet, Spriggan, 2B, Atomic, I think that is a really good combo, and I'm going to do a video on that combo in the future. Now, when it comes to this Jet combo versus Tempest, the thing with Jet is that depending on the way you hit it, it will lock, and that causes it to lose momentum or speed. So had Alex been using, say, the Tempest ring instead, so Tempest 2A with the Atomic, he definitely would have had a better chance in this matchup. And I do believe I said 2B before, but he's definitely using 2A. So Alex will choose switch again, and CS knows that Alex doesn't have anything that can beat him. I mean, he does have that master on bearing, but it's not going to beat this Tempest combo. And so the rest of this matchup will just be the master combo versus Tempest. And I do think that is a good choice for Alex to keep sticking with that, as I think it does have the best chance overall of beating Tempest, as CS isn't going to switch out of that Tempest if Alex doesn't beat it. Now, what I'll do now, since this will just be the same matchup a few more times, is I'll go ahead and answer the question with regards to the differences between Florida Beyblade scene and North Carolina Beyblade scene. So first I want to say I had an extremely good time in Florida. Everyone was extremely welcoming. So FireKing, Alex, Union, SSJ, CS, CS's family, everybody was very welcoming, and I had a lot of fun there. Now, one of the differences between Florida and North Carolina is, in North Carolina, we launch on the ground. So we put the stadiums on the ground and we launch, and in Florida, they use tables for stadium bases. So is that a big difference? Well, honestly, to me, it's not. It's really just the same thing. But to a kid, that can be a really big difference, as when a stadium is on the ground, the kid is over it, so they can really control how they launch into the stadium. And when a stadium is raised, depending on the height of the kid, they have to reach up to launch. And that can cause a lot of KOs or ring outs, which brings me to the next difference. In North Carolina, whenever we have new players or kids, most of the organizers have implemented a 3-strike rule, where you can miss launch, or I shouldn't say miss launch. If you miss the stadium or you launch in the pockets without contact, you get 3 chances before it's counted as a point for your opponent, and each miss launch after that counts as a point for your opponent. And I should say that's only used in the first stage. When it comes to the finals, the top 8, top 4, or top whatever, we have a strict, if you miss the stadium or if you do a pocket launch, your opponent gains a point. So by implementing a 3-strike rule, I think it's really good for new Beybladers, kids, as it's really frustrating if you're new to Beyblade and you keep missing the stadium and your opponent keeps getting points. So in Florida, it's just if you miss, you miss. Your opponent gets a point. Now I did see one time where a kid missed the stadium and they let him do a relaunch, which was good. And so yeah, those are the two main differences. And I want to be clear that a stadium miss, that is the rule. So if you miss the stadium, your opponent should get that point. But the organizers can kind of have some leeway with that rule when it comes to new players and kids. So yeah, overall I had an amazing time in Florida, and I can't wait to go down there and play some of these Beybladers again. Now this next matchup is between the 1st and 3rd seed. So FireKing and UnionAchilles. So FireKing actually switched up one of his combos. So this time around he's using Master Spriggan Will Zone Dash plus Z. He's still using that Brave Lucifer 2 with 2S Drift. But now instead of Rage, he chose to use Tempest Uranus with the Metal Chip Core to be Atomic. And UnionAchilles, he's using Jack Solomon with a Metal Chip Core, Drift, and 2B. He's using Master Spriggan Will Atomic, and he's using World Lucifer 1S Hybrid. And so this first matchup is the Tempest combo, so the Tempest on Atomic versus the World on Hybrid. And I do have Hybrid and Ignition drivers, but I don't really use them that much, as in a lot of my testing I do use Tempest on Xtend Plus, and those drivers just don't stand up to Tempest on Xtend Plus. So I have tried a Perfect Phoenix combo on Hybrid, and it wasn't too great. So I was honestly impressed by the amount of stamina this World combo had, as it had a lot of stamina. So it does outspin Tempest here, and FireKing asks for the switch. So UnionAchilles chooses to stay with that combo, and FireKing, he chooses to switch into his master combo on Zone Dash plus Z. So it's a left spin on zone versus a right spin. So I think that was a really good switch for FireKing, as opposite spin zone is really good as well. And again, I do believe these two bladers play each other a lot, so they do take a little bit of time when it comes to choosing their combos. So here, I was fairly certain that Master would have a lot more stamina, as I do know Zone is really good at opposite spin. So I'm not sure if FireKing actually meant to do a tornado stall, but it did work out here, and he does end up winning this round. So Union will ask for the switch, and FireKing will choose to switch into his drift combo, so his Brave Lucifer 2 2S drift. And Union, seeing that, will choose to stick with his world combo, which is a really good choice. As I've said a lot, drift isn't really good in same spin, so choosing that hybrid combo was a really good choice. So yeah, they just take a little bit of time. And I don't think anybody here had an awoken drift driver, as their drifts are really good at just staying in the center. And I know my semi-awoken drift, if I pull it anywhere near as hard as these players are pulling theirs, it will just self-KO. So yeah, again, Union gets the point here, and FireKing will ask for the switch. And what happens is Union chooses to go with his Jack Solomon 2B drift combo, and Fire King, I believe he chooses to go with his Tempest combo, which is a good choice as that drift is on right spin and his Tempest is right spin on atomic. And I do like this jet combo too. I mean, it is kind of like the world on drift, but it is a little bit different. And yeah, CS has some really good commentary. That kid is pretty funny. So Fire King gets the point there, and Union acts for the switch. So Fire King will choose to switch to his master on zone combo, which I think is a decent choice. Yeah, it's a fairly decent choice. I mean, it is on zone, so it is a good choice. And seeing that, Union, he chooses to use his drift combo. So again, drift versus zone-Z. Again, I think it's 50-50. As we saw in the first round, drift did get a few wins on the zone combo. And thinking about it, if I were Union, I probably would have used my master on atomic to try to combat his master on zone dash. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure same spin, atomic has a lot more stamina than zone dash plus C. So if you guys want, in the comments, let me know if that's the case or not. I do believe it to be the case. So you'll see here that in this matchup, zone actually takes the win, whereas in the very first matchup, the drift combo was beating the zone combos. So that's really why I say it's kind of 50-50. And when it comes down to the stamina matchups, specifically between zone and drift, you do have to kind of slow these down some and look at the replays just to see who won. Otherwise, you can be there a very long time calling ties. So in the slowdown of this one, the zone combo does keep spinning while the drift combo stops. So Union will ask for a switch, and Fire King, he chooses to use his Tempest combo. If I were Fire King, honestly, I probably would have kept my master combo, as he did just win, so I would have put the pressure on Union to choose when to switch. So he chose his Tempest combo, and Union goes right to his world combo, since he already knows that his world combo can out-stamina that Tempest combo. So it's really just a replay of the very first matchup, or the very first round of this matchup. And so yeah, Union will get the win here, as again it is just a replay of the matchup. And what will happen is Fire King, he chooses to say switch, and Union chooses to go with his jet on drift combo, and Fire King, I believe he will choose to use his master on wheel combo. Now, if I were Fire King, I honestly, since that jet on drift is a right spin, if I were him, I would have stuck with the Tempest combo, as the Tempest combo had already beaten that jet combo, and it would be a same spin matchup. So I'm not sure if he was just in the moment here. I mean, he does have a 50-50 chance to be fair, so yeah. And this is another one that I did have to slow down to verify the winner. So typically, if it's noticeable who the winner is, that's really easy. You just tell them who the winner is. But if there's any question, no matter what the ruling, I'll always ask both Beybladers if they want to see the replay so that they can see that I did make the correct ruling, hopefully. So here, you'll see that the master combo does stop spinning and the jet combo does keep spinning after. Now, I did rule it this way, but there was some question as to whether the jet combo rocked or actually spin, and in the slow-mo you can see that it does keep spinning, and after it finished spinning it does that little rock. So Fire King will ask for the switch here, and Union will choose to stay with his jet combo, and Fire King will choose to keep his master combo. And again, if I were Fire King, I would have chose to switch over to my Tempest combo to give Drift a disadvantage for that same spin. And this could just be because they were in the moment. But they, like I said before, these are really good Beybladers. So they definitely have their reasons behind the combos they are choosing. And so for this one, I could clearly see that this was a tie, as they both did stop spinning at the exact same time. Maybe Jet stopped spinning like a microsecond later, but it was really at the same time. It wasn't enough to rule that one had outspun the other. And so by WBO rules, whenever there is a tie, then you just replay. So they replayed with the same two combos, and in this one, Master will actually get the win here. Yeah, these stamina matchups do take a while. And so after this, it'll be 4-4, and Union will choose the switch option. So yeah, if you look here, Jet does stop and Master is still spinning. It does rock back, but it had already stopped and Master was still going, so that was definitely a point for Fire King. Now, for this one, Union chooses to say switch, and Fire King chooses to use his master combo. Now, if we look at the combos that Fire King has, he has that Master Spriggan Will Zone Dash plus C, he has Brave Lucifer 2 with 2S Drift, and he has that Tempest with 2B on Atomic. And Union has Jet on Drift, or rather Jet Solomon on Drift, the Master Spriggan Will Atomic, and the World Lucifer Hybrid 1S. So really, based on the choices here, so if Fire King would have chose Tempest, then Union would have, without a doubt, chose to use its World combo, and that would have been an easy point for Union. So Tempest is really not a choice here. Now, he could have chose to use his Brave on Drift combo, but Union probably would have chose to use his World combo, just because he would have that same spin advantage, and he already knows that his World combo can beat that Drift combo. So really, the only choice here is for Fire King to stick with Master. as the choice on the Switch goes to Union. So his best choice, in my opinion, is Master, which he does choose to use. Now, Union chooses to stay with his Jet combo, which is on Drift, and again, in my opinion, it's 50-50. And from these matchups, I do believe it's been split between the Drift combo, so FireKing's Drift combo and FireKing's Zone combo and Union's Drift combo. I do believe right now there's an even split between those. So if I were Union and I saw that he chose to use his Master combo, so his Master on Zone, I probably would have given the Master on Atomic a go, as all the Masters they used here were left spin. So I would have betted on Atomic outspinning the Zone Dash plus Z. But Union decides to actually just stick with his combo. So he sticks with his Drift combo. And yeah, that's a decent choice. And so what happens on the final point is a bit unfortunate. FireKing does end up doing a self KO. So if you look at his launch, you'll see that he jerks his launcher. You see he tilts it down to the left, and it does cause his Master to bounce into the pocket when he lands, as his launcher was tilted toward that pocket right there, so it went right into it. And again, even if it is a quote-unquote mislaunch, it does not constitute a relaunch, as he tilted his launcher down that way, and that was under his control. So Union does end up winning this tournament. So overall, I'd say that, again, I had a lot of fun in Florida, and I definitely look forward to playing against some of these Beybladers again. So yeah, be sure to like, subscribe, and all of that other good stuff. Thanks.